3 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you wherever you are. It's a glorious, a wonderful, spirited Tuesday morning. I want to say thanks for being, thank you for being part of another edition of To The Point for today, the 3rd of October 2023. It's a pleasure being here with you. I'm Joseph Cadore, and indeed it's a pleasure being with you. Those of you, wherever you're on the mainland, you're probably across some parts of the region or in other parts of the diaspora, we say thanks for being part of this morning's conversation. And those of you that's joining us via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd, or possibly via our other social media platforms, be it YouTube or Facebook, we say thank you and good morning to you. My guest this morning is Tuesday's Opposition Tuesday, and my guest is former Government Minister Oliver Joseph, who's joining us virtually. I want to say good morning and thank you, sir, and welcome to The Point. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing well. Good morning to all your viewers and listeners. It's always a pleasure to be with you on this program, and I look forward to an interesting program.
Indeed, I want to say thanks for being part of the conversation. This morning, the conversation will touch and concern that topical issue of minimum wage. And when we say minimum wage, Mr. Joseph, we basically speak to that which a person legally is entitled to be paid once they're employed, whether it's done orally or written. By the letter of the law, there's a minimum, a threshold that they are expected to be paid. A conversation has been ongoing for quite a while. There's been a number of consultations, and certainly, what's your thoughts, though? I'm assuming quite reasonably that you have been following the process?
Yeah, sure. Now, minimum wage is, if you look at how it is done, it is reviewed ever so often because you have the issue of inflation, which is one of the main factors that people will use to call for an increase in the wages. So the government has set out a task force to look at increasing the minimum wage for certain sectors. So minimum wage is done by sector. So you would not see, for example, the minimum wage for a teacher or a civil servant there, right? You have to look at the sectors that the minimum wage is set, so that you take a sectorial approach. And then you use inflation as that's one means. There are other factors that you must take into consideration. And one of the major factors would be the current state of the economy. See, when you implementing minimum wage, you have to look at the present unemployment rate, because I will show later in the program how an increase in minimum wage could further increase unemployment. So at this stage, I'm saying that you should look at the economy. Mm-hmm. How robust is the economy? What is the unemployment rate? For the various sectors, how do they compare to others? What kind of skill set is needed? Because you have different skills for different sectors. I'm sure the committee perhaps took that into consideration, but I have some concern about the outcome or the report on the minimum wage.
Let me ask you, though, there was a consultative process that steered us to where we are at present. Looking at what has been taking place, how satisfied are you? Because we are going to assume, and we're going to go on the assumption, unless we can prove otherwise, that they've established an ideal premise, looking at the different factors that you have indicated. How satisfied are you? Have you been following the process, and how satisfied are you with where we've gotten to thus far?
Yeah, well, there was a consultative process throughout the island. It was advertised so that people can come and express the view. At the end of the day, the committee will listen to all the views expressed, and the committee will have to make recommendations to government. That's how the process works. Now, I have seen in the report a differential in pay in salaries and wages based on parish. So if there is a rate for St. George, a rate for St. David and the outer parishes. Now, if you're using inflation, or let's use the normal word, the cost of living, that's a national thing. You don't hear about the cost of living for St. Andrews and the cost of living for St. Patrick. So I am still wondering why the committee choose to go that route of parish with establishing different wage. That one puzzled me, because as I said, the national is a cost of living is national. So if you use parish, the problem you will put yourself in is that, so I'm a contractor, I have a team working with me. When they are working on a project in St. George, I'm paying them one rate, and I take the same team and bring them to St. Andrew, and I have to pay them a different rate because of a different location. I don't know minimum wages based on that.
Let me ask you. So is it that you hinted that the entire process is flawed from the outset, or is
No, not the entire process. I'm saying the outcome in the final recommendation to government.
You hint. Sorry.
No, go on. Okay. You go ahead.
No, you hinted at the beginning of the discourse that the inflation rate. Let's help me that we can educate the people. What are the different templates that can be used in trying to arrive at a minimum wage? So what are the factors that must be taken into consideration? So you said the inflation rate.
That's one of the basic factor that you will take, because you're looking at the purchasing power of the dollar. Mm-hmm. So if 10 years ago you were getting $10, you look at what it could purchase now, right? There's a term in economics called the purchasing power parity. Mm-hmm. What you get now. So the committee will take that into consideration, the change in inflation in the country, and give it a certain weight. You see, it depends on the amount of weight you place on it. So I said, productivity is not there. The fact that you increase at the minimum wage doesn't mean that you will see an increase in productivity.
Okay, so I want us to get to that. If we can do. So we said one of the factors is that of inflation. What are the other factors?
Okay, the unemployment level in the country.
Unemployment level. Mm-hmm.
Yes, one. The ability of the private sector, because most of these things, they're private sector, the ability of the private sector to increase salaries and the level at which they will be able to increase salaries without affecting the business profit. We have to ensure that you don't want to set a minimum wage to the point where the salaries and wages as a factor of production increase to the level where you will find that the business will have to send home employees. So, for example, in some areas,
Mr. Joseph, if you don't mind, I'm kind of a bit concerned with the quality of the video. Are you holding on to the device? I will need to have it steadied. Are you able? Are you able? Here's what we are going to do, because I need you, sir. Master Control, we take a quick commercial break, though. I don't want to make sure that we offer the general public. So we'll take a quick commercial break. 15 minutes gone past the hour. We'll take a quick commercial break.
More chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway, and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Introducing the NIS Dream Loan, where possibilities are boundless and your aspirations are our priority. No matter where life takes you, NIS Dream Loans are here to make your dreams a reality. From purchasing your first plot of land or dream property to renovating spaces, building your home, and seamlessly switching mortgages, we cater to every step of your journey. And here's what sets us apart. We offer easy financing options with competitive interest rates, quick approval processes, and flexible repayment terms. So why wait? Apply now and let our dedicated NIS team guide you through this exciting journey. Visit nisgrenada.org/dream loan or call 440-3309 to book an appointment. Terms and conditions apply. Your dream awaits.
Thank you. Welcome back. 18 minutes gone past the hour. My guest this morning, in case you're just joining us, it's Mr. Oliver Joseph, and it is Opposition Tuesday. And this morning we talk about minimum wage. We have established some of the parameters, the basic parameters for the establishment of the minimum wage, the cost of the inflation rate, unemployment levels. So we've gone through the initial phase of consultations, and I was trying to get a sense from you as to what are your thoughts, though. You were making mention of one of your concerns in terms of the minimum wage being differently reflected for each on a parish basis. You were saying, is that abnormal?
Well, as far as I know, you don't factor that into. If you're using inflation, it is national. It is not on a parish basis. So if you're talking about paying minimum wage, I don't understand why you using it on a parish basis. That's something that I find need reviewing. That's all I'm saying. Now, we support the increase in minimum wage, but to the level where it does not lead to any negative fallout. And the fact that 10 years you did not have an increase in the minimum wage, that's a good thing. I'm happy that you've seen an increase from January in the minimum wage. Once we do not see the private sector deciding, well, since I have to pay a large increase in the wage, my wage bill will start increasing, and therefore I cannot hire additional people. That is one of the downsides when you increase the minimum wage to an unsustainable level.
So are you suggesting now that which is being recommended isn't sustainable?
No, I'm saying what is recommended may lead to, because in some cases you have a 100% increase recommended. And all I'm saying, in a situation of high unemployment in the country and such large increase, it may lead to increase in unemployment because businesses may not hire additional people. That is what I'm saying. And that is a fact that had to be taken into consideration when you are making these recommendations.
But in all
effect it will have.
In all fairness to the process, and I understand that what you're saying, but the private sector, they were and have been part of the conversation. So can we reasonably assume that they came to a point of a meeting point where they be determined that as employers, this threshold would satisfy our interests and also satisfy the interests of the employee?
No. Even if you have consultation, the employer will not show what would be the end result, because you had a committee that was set up by the government, and when you go to a consultation, just like a budget consultation, even if you in the consultation you may say there should be no increase in taxes, and then the budget come and you see increase in tax and say, Lord, they have not taken into consideration my view. Well, not only your view, you see all views. The committee to gather information from all the sectors and from different interest groups and put it together and then make a recommendation. So to assume that the private sector was consulted on the minimum wage and therefore what come out in the final document reflects what their view is not correct.
But isn't that a reasonable assumption? I mean, I would think, no. in all honesty.
No, that's not a reasonable assumption.
But from where you sit, have you been part of the consultative process? And are you aware that the private sector, that they've not been part of it? Because I mean, it would be troubling.
I'm not saying they're not part. I'm saying, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the private sector, employers, employees, different people went to the consultation. And at the end of the day, the committee puts out its recommendation. It does not mean that what was said in the consultation is reflected. Everything is reflective in the final report. That is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, that can be a reasonable conclusion, but I think it would be really disconcerting that any recommendations put forward is not a reflection of the will of the stakeholders. But
you see, when you, as I said, similar to the budget consultation, when the government have all the budget consultation, get the views. It helps them with a policy formulation for the budget. But at the end of the day, it reflects what the government would like to see happen and to what extent they can implement the policies that were recommended during the consultation. Because you remember, the government has the responsibility to make policies in the interest of everyone. And you have a lot of competing sectors and a lot of competing views. When you go there, people come with their own personal interests that they want to see. So the farmers will come and say, you need to increase our wages by 100%. The government was open. Well, let me give you a comment when I've heard in the consultation with farmers. They are saying that the government should open agro industries. They said, well, if you're a farmer, you're telling the government to open industries, why not the private sector? If there is a lot of money to be gained from opening factories, then you should do it. Ask the government for all the concession. So the government will say, as a policy, matter of policy, we give you 100% concession and equipment, plant and equipment, vehicles, everything. We give you 100%, give you the full support, we facilitate your business, and you as private sector open the factory.
Let me ask you though, because you've raised the concerns. What, in your estimation, think that the minimum wage should be?
No, well, I cannot just say what I think it should be. I was not on the committee.
No. I'm asking you. I'm asking you from the position of you being a former minister. You've been part of the process. You're an economist. If you're on the outside, and I'm thinking reasonably that you might be qualified in some aspects. If you were to think of it logically, and you are asked to give an intellectual response to the conversation as to what and where you think the minimum wage should be, at least at an average, what would be your response to that?
No, I'll have to get all the data. I'll have to see all the data collected, and I'll have to see what are the parameters they use, so I could study the data carefully in order to come up with something. Not something I could just say, well, I think for the agricultural sector, it should increase by 50%, and for the construction sector, it should go up by 25%. I can't say that because in the absence of I having the information. The committee that was established to look at the minimum wage and make recommendation, they have all the data, and they have made a recommendation.
Okay, based on the
I'm just saying that when I look at it, in some sectors, I think they got it right. I think the increase recommended.
What are some of the sectors that you think that they have gotten it right in?
Well, I think the agricultural work and the construction sector and the agricultural sector. My main concern in these sectors, as I said, would that lead to increase in productivity, because our problem is productivity, and I think that the way we do agriculture is still in the traditional way of cutlass and fork and hoe and spade.
Okay.
We need to mechanize it more so that we can have an increase in productivity.
I just need. Okay, so besides agriculture, so you've hinted that you like what you see that's been offered for agriculture. What are some of the areas that you think that looks quite satisfactory?
Look, the majority of areas I think is satisfactory. As I expressed earlier in the discussion, the concern about the parish level increase is the one that I have the greatest concern in. And for example, there's a increase for maids and so on of 100%. And my only concern there is that it may lead to less people being hired because of the huge increase. So, but generally, I would say I support, let me make it clear, I support the increase in minimum wage, because if for 10 years you did not get an increase, that is quite deserving. I want to make that clear. And I just express before it is taken to Parliament and gazetted, maybe they will consider the two recommendations that I make. My two concerns, I don't know if that will be taken about.
And if you don't mind, just clearly state those two concerns for me, because we want to open up the lines in just a bit. Just clearly state your two concerns.
Yeah, one is that the minimum wage is not done on a parish basis, on a parish level, because inflation is not done on a parish level. Inflation is national, right? The increase in cost of living is done national. So I don't understand the rationale for the parish. That's the first concern. The second one is that for increases that has been recommended, where it is over 75% and more, up to 100%, my concern is for these areas may lead to a reduction in employment or no additional employment. And what you need is to create employment in an economy where unemployment is so high. That's my two concerns.
43520. 2041, that's the number on the inside. It is to the point. It's Opposition Tuesday, and we go to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You are live.
Good morning.
Yes, you are live. Good morning.
Yes. Thank you. What Mr. Oliver Joseph is saying, the understandable part concerning the unemployment. Yes, surely, when you see increase like this take place on salaries, the private sectors and them, they just want to fire people and give a limited amount of workers, and that will be a disadvantage for people. So I wish to God that the private sector think about it and don't really fire people, because in this kind of time it's necessary. People need their jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say, I mean, and I guess I understand that there will be different concerns, but I would want to assume reasonably that whatever the consultative process would have been guided by various facets that would take into consideration what is a sustainable increase that would not in any way adversely affect the different industries. The number 435-2041, it is on screen. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You are live. Good morning, caller. Hello, caller. Hello. We would have to leave. We'll have to do away with that caller, Mr. Joseph. So you have quite openly expressed your two specific areas of concern. Looking at the conversation of minimum wage, once we get the formula right, what in your estimations what's the spin-off, first of all, the positive spin-off effects that this could have on the livelihoods of the average Grenadian?
Yeah, well, of course, you have more money. If you put more disposable income in people's pocket, as you have more disposable income, they will spend more. As you spend more in the economy, government collect more taxes. So you could have a positive effect. So I have nothing against increases in salaries because it will contribute to the growth in the economy. And these are the people at the bottom of the scale. And you give them more money, they will be able to provide more. So it's a good thing to have more disposable income. But when you juxtapose that with the high unemployment rate, which I express as my concern, we want to see more people working. So what I like to see the government do now, from the 1st of January, is to put more people to work. Whether it's the government directly or you give the incentive to the private sector, let us have more people working, so more people will have higher disposable income, and the economy, there will be a great spin-off in the economy when people have what they call spending power. Because it's consumer spending, that will help the economy. Take, for example,
just hold your thoughts to me. We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you are live. Go ahead, please. 435-2041, call. That's the number that is on the inside. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You are live.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead.
Something definitely wrong with the phone because I'm not hearing you on the phone, right? But I'm just speaking. I just want to say this morning, Mr. Oliver, good morning to you, sir. You words have no life in it, Mr. Oliver, after having created so much of poor and vulnerable people in this country, 10 years, these people don't get an increase. Today, another organization trying to help the poor and vulnerable with a little increase on the wages, and you talking about consultation with other communities. Mr. Oliver, I wish you and your rest of people from the NNP could have just joined with this government and see what all you could do for the poor and vulnerable all you create in this country. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say, Colin, in all fairness to Mr. Oliver, he did quite openly articulate the fact that he's in support of the process. He quite clearly stated that he doesn't have he's indicated some areas of concern, but he quite expressly said he's in total support of the process. 435-2041, that's the number on the inside. 25 minutes onto the hour, though. We'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. When we come back, we continue the conversation with Mr. Oliver Joseph as we discuss minimum wage. We'll be right back, Grenada.
Coming up on Caribbean Passport, food and rum cravings acting up? Well, it's that time of year in Barbados. Over 1,000 runners on the streets of Port of Spain. It's the newest road race challenge. The calming vibes of St. Kitts and Nevis. A Panas premiere. And ooh, chocolate. It's all next on this station.
Welcome back. It is 23 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock. My guest this morning is Mr. Oliver Joseph from Joseph Cadore, and thanks for joining us. Those of you that's on GBN Television, GBN Radio, and our other social media platforms. And again, Mr. Joseph, thanks for being part of the conversation. We touched on briefly, though, one of the drawbacks, sir, of minimum wage, and it's a debate that has not been settled in many quarters. There's some school of thoughts that seem to suggest, yes, all praise to the consumer, and there's a reverse of that, and that's a debate that's ongoing by many intellectuals.
Yes, and rightly so. It's a good thing, and it's a good thing to have the debate going on, because there are more than one side to any situation. And if you speak to 10 economists, you'll get 10 different views, and that is very healthy. You'll have the views and they'll have the information, and in the context. But you see, everything has to be in context. So I said in the beginning, you have to look at the structure for the economy. You have to look at the unemployment level in the economy. There are a number of factors that you need to take into consideration, and perhaps the committee did in coming up with the final recommendation. But you will always have debate on these things, whether you should just leave it to the market to determine. You know, we have different theories, a lot of different theories in economics.
What's your school of thought as an economist?
Because of the small nature of our economy, I think there should be intervention by the state. You see, because we're very small, there's not enough. It's not large enough for competition to determine these things. And so, as a small, open economy, I think the government has a major role to play, and I think that the government is right to intervene in determining and setting the minimum wage, because every model is situational specific. You know, I recall a professor saying that very clearly. You are developing a model, and I said, would that work in small island states? And he asked me, what is the population of my country and I say 100,000, he said, no, it wouldn't work. The assumption here is that your population is over 1 million. And so sometimes what I find is people try to just bring in models from outside or use a lot of textbook example without looking at the local situation and seeing how they can adapt these models that you learn to the local situation. Because in Grenada, you have very low wages in all sectors. If you take, for example, the public service, and you say, well, why wages so low? And the converse is to say, why is government employing all these people? Do you know that government employ over 6,000 people? Well, the state. Do you know that? Over 6,000? So when the report comes out saying, government employ all this large amount of people as a percentage of its population, and the government need to reduce in order to pay better wages. Okay. One recommendation is, well, cut back the workforce.
Okay,
then on the converse, you see, well, if you cut back, unemployment is so high, could you cut back in the economy that unemployment is so high? So these debates go back and forth, you know.
Okay, just hold that thought for me. We do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead. You're alive.
Hello.
Yes, caller. You're alive. Go ahead, please. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, caller. Go ahead. You're alive.
Hello. Good morning.
You are live, caller. 435-2041, that's the number that is on the inside. We're going to go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. Hello, caller. The caller, I know the line is open because I'm hearing myself on the device in the background.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. You're alive.
Hello?
Yes, caller, you're alive. Go ahead, please. You're alive. Hello?
Although we have a mini... Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead and make your contribution.
Although we have a minimum wage, one thing I'm not hearing is about the work hours.
You don't hear about what, sir?
The work hours. How many hours is each person in each category supposed to work?
Okay, so you want to know the working hours. Thank you very much, sir. I just want to say that conversation, if not dealt with today, I want to let you know that tomorrow. We're expected to have the Minister of Labour and one of the committee members from the wage committee. So certainly we could be able to pose those questions, most those questions to them. But let me ask you though, Mr. Oliver. The last caller, he was concerned about the working hours. Your thoughts, though? Do we work too much hours, or do you think we need to strap some hours under our belts?
Now, I haven't given thought to that. I know we have a 40-hour work week, but in the minimum wage, there are certain sectors where that talks about a minimum of 5 hours and so on. But I have not done any research into it, but the 40-hour work week is something that I grew up used to, and I think it served us well. So I don't know the committee. Maybe, as you said, tomorrow the committee could deal with the hours.
But if possible, you can share your own personal thoughts as a professional.
Yes, of course. As I said, there are always different views and these things. It's not just a straightforward matter. All I caution is that we take into consideration the context, do everything in the context of Grenada that will help us to better understand what we are dealing with. So it's not just coming and say, well, Grenada has the lowest minimum wage in the region. Well, that might be so, but what are the other factors that contributes to that? So I would say that it's good to do studies, and maybe should commission more studies into various sectors.
I was hoping though that you might be able to share your personal thoughts on whether or not you think we should extend the 40 hours, the 40-hour work week. But we have.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think we should?
So.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Hello.
Yes, you're a live caller. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Yes, caller, you're alive. I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Hello.
Caller, I am hearing you. Go ahead, please.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, caller, I am hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, right. I'm not hearing you, but I'll proceed. Good morning to you and your followers, and good morning, Mr. Joseph. I agree with you that minimum wage is always a very dicey thing. It's a balancing act. It's like a two-edged sword. If you go too far, it can result in loss of jobs. But at the same time, if it's too low, it may discourage people from seeking jobs. It is very strange, though, that the NNP seems to be, you spoke about letting the market factors prevail. But the previous time we had minimum wage was by the NDC government after 3 consecutive terms by the NNP. They didn't touch it. And now we have it again by the NDC after 2 consecutive terms by the NNP. So it seems that the NNP has decided to be hands-off in terms of that and let the market forces prevail. As you said, in such a small society, the government has to step in. But for some reason, the NNP has not seen the need to step in the times that they were there. I don't agree with you that the unemployment is as high as you seem to be making it appear to be, because I know of a number of people who have 2 jobs, side job. Some of them have 1 main job and 2 side jobs. And that may also be a function of the low minimum wage. That some of these people, they cannot survive on their wage, so they look for side jobs. So you find that others who may have been able to do those side jobs, they are left out, because those who have jobs are more aggressive, they are more marketable, they're more in touch with what is happening, so they can hold 2 and 3 jobs. There are many people in Grenada right now who are doing it.
Okay.
Public servants, all kinds of people, because I hire people, and sometimes you cannot get them. So I don't agree. It may be at the level of the bushers and so that we have a problem. It may be that we have a geographic problem in places like in the country areas where the transportation cost doesn't make it viable for someone to come and live Sauteurs and do a job in Point Saline or somewhere like this. But I do not believe that the unemployment problem that you're referring to is as acute as you're making it seem to be.
Okay, thank you very much.
I believe that I have not gone into this minimum wage thing and the matter of the geographic disparity you're speaking about. I'm not aware of it. But it may be because of the cost of transportation. There may be this problem in some sectors. You'll pay people coming from further out a little more to take care of that extra cost.
Thank you, caller.
But,
let me give him some time to respond. Okay, caller, I think we've gotten... Mr. Joseph, your response? Do you care to respond?
Well, I think the caller, we are saying the same thing. There's hardly any disagreement between what the caller is saying or what I said. I stress on the fact that maybe I'm blowing up the unemployment. Unless we have official figures, both of us will have to make assumptions.
What's the figures that you, in your assessment, the assessment that you're making, what figures that's guiding your argument?
Well, the last figure I saw was 30%.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm basing it on.
Okay, 30%. Yeah. Okay. He made the caller did add to the fact that what we find now, and I think it's part of the natural conversation, given where things are economically, that you find a lot of people, there's a hustle mentality as it is. And when I say hustle, not hustle as we've known it traditionally, where persons, because of the issues, they in a case where they need to maintain a certain standard of living, they are forced to do a side job, and that the caller was adding might be what's taken away from other possible employment opportunities. Your thoughts?
Well, you see, I don't like to go into making all these assumptions. People will have one job or two, a side job. Perhaps the guy that come, for example, the guy that come and mow and cut my lawn and maintain it, he has another job, but on weekend he does that, and you will find a lot of this sort of, areas where people offer their services in areas that they are skilled in. To make additional money, and that always takes place in the country, where people use their skills to do other things, to get additional income, and that's, I don't know to what extent.
No, I don't think the argument, if I understood it right, had to do with that. I think the point that the caller was attempting to make is that he's saying that there are additional jobs that are available. However, because individuals, the working force already is forced to, because of the economic challenge, they're now forced to take up some of the other employment opportunities that are available. I mean, do you agree with that school of thought?
Listen, if there are other jobs available, you will take it, because that's not your main job, so you'll take it for a lower amount. But somebody who's looking for a job, for example, would not take a job for $40 a day and depend on that, right? So you have a job, you're getting paid fortnightly, you get or monthly. You will take a side job for the low wage that is being offered there, because that's not your main source of income. But for someone who wants a full-time job, and that low wage is the main source of income, will not take it. That is the difference.
So are we going to hope that with the increase in minimum wage, that challenge would be removed and persons will be satisfied with their salary, and the other jobs that are available would be taken up by those who are truly unemployed?
Well, if the salary is attractive enough to the other people who are not working to take up the job, then that's fine. However, if it is not attractive enough to take on people to work full time, then you will always have a situation where people will do part-time work. Nothing wrong in the economy of doing part-time job, or you have your full-time job and taking an additional job. Wow. If the minimum wage is attractive enough for people who are seeking full-time employment to take up, that's good.
We'll see how that. 8 minutes on to the hour, we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Good morning. You're alive.
Yes. Going back in the past 23 and a half years at the NNP administration. Now, putting the Imanis aside, because the Imanis were training. Putting that aside, because they were calculated as employed people, putting that aside, we had high unemployment that time. You have to bear that in mind. The second point I would like to make is that in the time the NNP was in power, we never got any information on inflation. We never got any rates on inflation, nothing at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. Mr. Joseph?
No, that's not correct. Well, the caller doesn't know what he's talking about, because the Consumer Price Index is done by the Ministry of Finance that reports on the inflation rate. If the World Bank, the IMF, and all the financial institutions, that is one of the first things they report on. They look at it and release the figure, unemployment figures every year. That is done every year, whether it's NNP that's there, whether it's NBC every year. That is done by governments. Every government does that every year. and then the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, track it a monthly basis.
Well,
and then you get an average at the end of the year.
I will
so
say
that's not correct.
I will have to agree with you on. I will have to agree with you on that one. I'm not sure exactly what the caller was pointing to, that the information is not made available. As to whether or not he has he access to it might be the conversation here. But I would definitely agree with you on that one. I'm going to go back to the telephone line, which should be my final call for the morning. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
I'm not hearing you, but I'll make my contribution. If you have a minimum wage, doesn't matter whether it's part-time job or full-time job, I think the minimum wage, if the minimum wage is $10 an hour, it's $10 an hour, whether it's side job, part-time job, or full-time job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Joseph, we need to start wrapping up the conversation. Your final thoughts, maybe you could comment, if you can, on the last caller and present your closing arguments.
Minimum wage is minimum, but you have to distinguish between, you have to look at the areas the minimum wage cover. And when I say a part-time job, somebody come in and do your lawn for you, or somebody come in and do some chores for you, that's different. I think that's different. But minimum wage is what it says. You cannot pay below that. It's a floor. That is the lowest, you can go. So I would say to wrap up, the minimum wage, increasing minimum wage will help the workers, the people who are earning more as a result of an increase, those to spend more, and we should see increase. My concern is, as I said, would we see an increase in productivity as a result of the increase? And secondly, would we see an increase in unemployment as a result of the increase? That's my two concerns, which I hope could be addressed.
And that's the argument that has been put forward. We want to say thank you very much, sir, Mr. Oliver Joseph, representative of the new National Party, for today, the third day of October, Opposition Tuesday. Thank you very much, sir. All the best to you. Thanks for being part of today's conversation. I also want to say thank you.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. Also want to say a special thank you to all of the listeners and viewers, and those of you that made your contribution via the various social media platforms. I want to say thanks for being part of the conversation. That's it for now. Until another day, another time, we take on another conversation. Tomorrow, when it's going to be the government's turn, we await that conversation right here on To The Point. Until then, so long, everybody.